I don't know why I like him. I just do. I know he's toxic.
Got a video I wanted to do today, mostly to men. And it's to give you a 411 on something that I had put in another video. I had listened to Pearl Davis do an analysis of The Notebook, and I had even done a response to that, which I'll tag with this if you want to watch it too. It's very interesting, but it opened my eyes to some things and something I wanted to share, especially with younger men. I did a video earlier about how we need to have more personality and how you need to be more fun and how you need to learn to be more charismatic, more charming. You also have to lose some weight and develop a little bit of upper body. And it takes work to draw a woman and keep a woman. Even for married men, we can't slide. We can't, just fall into the chair and say, okay, now that I'm married. We hate it when women do that, yet that's what we're doing a lot of times. Where I wanted to lean in on this video is women are telling on themselves. And I've done some videos on this. You really have to, listen to them. I did a little short that I'm going to put in the, I'll do a picture of it right here. You can look for it on my channel. Also looking for the Pearl Davis response video on my channel. But where I want to lean in is men. We watch a lot of movies. If you're single, or even if you're married, watch The Notebook by yourself and take notes. Watch Titanic, especially before it sank, before Jack died. Spoilers. But watch that movie and take notes. Now, Nicholas Spark wrote The Notebook, and he wrote it in the early 90s, and it became a movie, I think in 1996, somewhere thereabouts. A decent movie, nice romantic movie. But you have to realize that women are taking the cues from this movie, but this movie is not really taking its cues from real life. Noah and the girl that's in it, I forget her name now, Rachel, are not real, and they were not patterned after real people, nor were the things that happened to them real. It was just a fanciful story set in the 40s so that these people could be alive, of course, in the 90s, to be older people, and based on a romance they had in the 40s. Outside of that and him going to war and her becoming a nurse, everything happens really fast. And the personalities don't really change. There isn't a lot of depth and angst. Yeah, there's sorrow and sadness, but basically Noah is Noah through the whole movie, and Rachel is Rachel through the whole movie, and most of us change as we get older. My point is, this movie is telling men what these movies are programming women to look for in men. It's a cheat sheet. I'm going to say, like I said in the title of this, what you can learn from Noah, what you can learn from Jack. Watch Noah. Look at how he treats her. Right off the bat, he sees her. He doesn't move in. She's with another guy. Probably most men would just back off. He does something flamboyant, but it gets her attention, but doesn't get her affection. Attention first, affection second. Later on, we don't know how long it is that he sees her in the street, runs up and talks to her, again, trying to woo her. We don't know how long it was. Then, of course, he comes up with something fun to do, and they do something fun as they're walking home from the movies. I would not suggest you lay down on a busy street, but find something fun. And then draws her in, and she gets drawn in. And when you see what Noah does, but Noah is also competent. He is going to build a building. He has a dream. He has a plan. Now, her dreams are not his dreams. And he's at least man enough to break up with her and not drag it on and not become less of a man in her eyes. Yeah, she didn't like how he breaks up the relationship, but he did it. He didn't let her break up. It's because you want this, I want that, and I'm not willing to change. Men, if you're willing to change for them, it's a big turnoff. You have to have your own goals. One thing I've noticed as a Christian man is you invite the woman into your world. Got to be very careful, because a woman will want to take your world and turn it into her world. Now, she can have her world, but you got to be careful that you're man enough to say, hey, this is my world, and you're going to be in it, and we're going to build your world and my world, and we're both going to sacrifice so that we can have a world together. But watch Noah, watch what he does, especially at the first. Watch what he does. Same thing with Jack. Jack comes out of nowhere, and Jack is pretty much homeless. We don't know much about Jack. He's on the Titanic, another movie, and he's on his way. He's fictional, but he is also a cartoon character created based on the fantasy guy of a woman. He's out there. I mean, you would think that, the Billy Zane character would have been the charmer. He would have been Prince Charming. He's the villain. And he's got the money, he's got the pull, he's got the strength, he's got the power over her. And yet, look at Jack. But Jack is flamboyant. Jack is charming. He can sit down with, I think, Kathy Bates' character, Molly Brown, and have a conversation at a table. He can woo the table. One thing I want to put in here is an interjection, and I mentioned this to a friend of mine, and she agreed with me, and she's like, duh, I saw this in high school. But women have a bit of a hive mind when it comes to men. An example I'll give is when I worked at a retailer back in the 90s, fictionally. I mean, I don't know if this happened, but I think it did. The first time I walked into the room, there were like 5 or 6 women. I think all of them stopped, and they wait to kind of get a feel from whoever they think is the alpha woman. In every group, there's an alpha, and it's kind of chosen informally by the women. If one of them goes, mm-hmm, they'll all go, mm-hmm. If one of them goes, mm-mm, they'll all go, mm-mm. See, these men were also accepted by the women around them. You'll see this going back to the Notebook. When some of the girlfriends are like, oh, yeah, that's Noah, and talks about him in very cool, warm tones. Same thing that happened with Jack. You cannot screw up in your female social circle, whatever it is, especially if you're single. And if you're married, you cannot screw up. You always have to be a man's man wherever you go. Point is, we men think we can screw up. I'll date this woman at work, and if it doesn't work out, I'll be fine. No, you're dead. I can do this or do that in my social group, and it'll be fine. No, you're giving yourself a bad name. But watch what Jack does in Titanic up to the sinking. And of course, she lets him die. But then again, she throws away this $1 million diamond over some guy she knew for 3 days. I mean, women want to feel this about us, and we rob them of that. We rob them of that. When they go out with us, they want that. When they marry us, they want that. And we rob them of that. So, your assignment is to rent the Notebook, take notes of what Noah does, his characteristics, and slowly integrate that to your life. Watch the Titanic, especially up to the sinking. And there's some adventure where she's trapped downstairs, he's trapped downstairs, and she comes after him, etc., etc. Okay, fine. But watch what he does at the beginning, how he's charming, how he takes her into his world, and she feels like she's a part of that world. So watch these movies. That's your homework. These movies are a tell. Women tell on themselves. These movies tell on what they really want. Yeah, our culture, and if you watch a lot of YouTubes, it's all women, or all they want is the 3 6s, and we're never going to be good enough. You can flip that script if you want to. So your homework, watch these movies, take notes, and integrate. You won't be sorry.
Dedicated to media brainwashing and catering towards women, right?
Okay. And this is the Don from The Don Speaks. And I've wanted to do a response video from something that Pearl did for a while. And I've been listening to a lot of her content. I've listened to her for the past couple of years, and I really enjoy her. Actually, I've subscribed. You should too. And I enjoyed this one. This is one of her longer videos. It's
Independent, and that's really my goal with the channel. Okay.
Again, it's more for the characterization.
Independent, and that's really my goal with the channel. Okay. So, to start today, I want to have a section of the show dedicated to media brainwashing and catering towards women, right?
Okay. And this is the Don from The Don Speaks. And I've wanted to do a response video from something that Pearl did for a while. And I've been listening to a lot of her content. I've listened to her for the past couple of years, and I really enjoy her. Actually, I've subscribed. You should too. And I enjoyed this one. This is one of her longer videos. It's an hour, almost an hour and a half, and she has different segments. This first segment's about 25 minutes. I probably won't play the whole thing because I want to comment, and I also have a little addendum I wanted to put near the end. Some of my thoughts. Here she is talking about movies that are highly either influential to women or they resonate with women. And either way, for us men, that can be a good thing. And I'm going to talk more about that. She does use the word brainwash. That's the only word I disagree with. Having watched The Notebook recently, I enjoyed it. It was a good movie. But I don't think that it has an effect on women as much as it reveals the nature of woman that's already there. So I think we men can see it as, oh, if I watch this and watch the woman and watch the guy, I'll learn more about women's nature.
So let's talk about female fantasies. When you think of movies that are catered to women, I think of Titanic. I think of The Notebook. I think of Scandal is another one. And when you look at the videos and the movies that are popular amongst women, 50 Shades of Grey, right? You can come to conclusions about female nature the same way you can come to conclusions about male nature by the videos that go viral amongst men. James Bond, there's hot women, big boobs, skinny, attractive, and it's a guy going on an adventure. Same thing with Transformers, right? Cars, guy going on an adventure, hot woman. You can gather some things. Now, I want to first talk about The Notebook. So, The Notebook is a movie that resonated with women across America. And what happened was there was a woman named Rachel who had her summer love in high school. And she falls in love with this boy, and this is them together. So, let me show you.
After that night, Allie and Noah spent every waking hour together, and soon they were inseparable.
I'm going to pause and comment here um, that watching the movie, there are some scenes that she's left out which lead up to this, in which he initiates the relationship, and that's very important. He kind of watches her on get in line to be on a Ferris wheel, and tries to shoot a shot, and gets kind of put down. Then he jumps onto the Ferris wheel with her on her date, and later on, he meets the girl and still tries to pursue her, and actually she says yes. And there's some excitement to this, but this is 17. If most of us can go back to 17 and see, there's a lot of excitement here. So I wanted to say that to give you a little bit of a start. Sometimes in movies, you think things happen in the same next day, 2 day period. It could have been a week later between the initial seeing and all of this excitement starts happening. I will say that the Notebook is a lot like, to me, it's like Indiana Jones. It's a bit of a two-dimensional cartoon that was written in a certain way. It's not revealing reality of the 1940s so much as it's placing these characters in 1940. So it actually fits the overall motif of the older couple later on, which you'll see in the movie. So it's not really showing history so much, it's just putting these people in history. I'm going to move on here because I want to hear more of her commentary.
Young love, they're fighting, but they're in love, yada, yada. Okay. Now, we continue and they break up. And so this is the breakup scene. So they're in high school and they graduate and now they're breaking up.
I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say. I'm
Can you turn
really
the sound up a little?
Right.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No.
And a lot of heightened emotions here. She'll even comment on how this is one of those emotionally charged points of the movie, that a lot of women will really kind of resonate with. Once again, learning about female nature through these movies. Like I said, I don't think it influences women so much as it reveals women. Trying to look at some of my notes here, and I will leave. If I didn't mention it, I will leave a link to this video with this response video. And by the way, feel free to subscribe to her channel, and she has something called the Audacity Network. Please look into that. I think it's real interesting. Also, subscribe to my channel. But getting back to what these guys are saying is they create this. There's a triangle coming up. This is going to be interesting also, which Nicholas Sparks creates. Again, it's more for the characterization, and they have a lot of passion here, but they break up. See if I can get this going.
And I'm so happy that you're doing that. You're
So again, it's the modern woman fantasy, right? Leave, she could pursue a family, but the fantasy in a lot of these movies is the woman pursuing whatever dream she has. So this girl wants to be an actress.
gonna have a million things to do. You got so much ahead of you.
Don't talk like that.
It's true. I'm not gonna have nice things.
Push forward a little bit through all of that. A lot of intense emotions in these scenes, which is fine. Again, you're looking at television, so movies, it kind of is what it
Continues
is.
to follow her dreams, and she meets another guy. And again, it's the same story, just in a different way. This guy is the safe guy. So she went out, she lived her dreams, and she found, Mr. Right, Mr. Prince Charming.
See, Allie, damn it, I think you have to marry me. I think you need to marry me.
I do?
Yes, you do. Because if you do, your parents will always know the unhappiness that you feel.
Okay, I'm going to push forward a little bit through that. But again, what
You get
she's
a guy
saying, and
on a
let me push
certain
pause
level.
here. Some things I wanted to comment on. Earlier on, when I was watching the movie, she doesn't talk about it there, but in the movie, he talked before they break up. She mentions how much she wants to touch, laugh, and play. And this, to me, when I was watching this, I took some notes because I was like, well, what can a guy learn? So here's leaning into my addendum. What can I learn about female nature so that I can work within its nature? So by understanding female nature, I can understand how to move myself. And Nicholas Sparks was pretty smart because some of this, there's some things coming up that are very revealing. For example, when she says, I want to touch, laugh, and play. That's key to women. Women want to touch, laugh, and play, no matter what age they are. They never stop wanting to touch, laugh, and play. Later on, story is that she'll get this guy will become a fiance, and then she'll find out about the other ex love interest and go back to him and have all this stress about which one she's going to choose. And of course, everybody knows where she's going to choose. But later on, he will say to her, "You're bored." Because even though she has this guy with all the money and all the looks, she's bored. So that's something you have to realize also. Women will have a higher, they will be bored faster than men will. Men will want to be peace. And, peace is quiet. It's solemn. It's hanging around the house, but they get bored, and that's a big problem. And you have to understand that about their nature. Let me play some more.
And by the way, each woman, it's different. Some women like the drug dealers, right? Their dream guy is some thug down the street. I don't know. Other women, maybe they like the farmers. So their dream guy is the archetype in this one, which he's kind of like a farmer type of guy. Other women, it depends on the woman, right? But there's a reason this stuff blows up for women, because they resonate. It resonates with many women. Now, Rachel's getting all excited to get married until one day she sees her ex-boyfriend in the newspaper. So look at her.
veil too much.
Are you kidding? You look perfect.
You look gorgeous, honey. Wait until Lon sees you in this dress. He's gonna go. He won't be able to take his eyes off you or his hair.
I'm going to move a little further because she sees the newspaper in a minute. They're looking at something and she sees the newspaper and faints and starts wondering
I mean,
what her
maybe
life would have been. Let me pause a little bit here. And one thing I've noticed is that, there's something that there was a lady who did a video, and I'd like to put it with this one if I remember to. Her name was Rachel Wilson, and she did something that talked about the sisterhood. Sisterhood is when women will get together and they will have this narrative about how life could be, how it should be. That's kind of where we get the happy wife, happy life. That's where we get, women are sugar and spice and everything nice. Men are snails' tails, puppy coat tails, wherever that comes from. When they tell boys that, oh, you need to be nice to the girls and they want you to be nice, and you find out later in middle school that actually they like guys with a little bit of edge. But women will have this narrative. And part of our wedding ceremony is the narrative. I mean, not to lean too much into that, but, women will get all excited if a man proposes to a woman and he'll show her picture to his friends and they'll go, oh, she's cute. Oh, she's pretty. When a woman gets asked to marry the man and goes and tell her friends, they go, oh, babies. Oh, they go apoplectic. You're going to make a great mom. They never talk about the type of wife. They'll ask how much does he make, and oh, that's going to be good. And they can start concentrating on the type of life she's going to have. So I wanted to throw that in there because I think the sisterhood will also come up later. I wanted to talk about that. But where I'm leaning in is to say that here she is, and now she's got this conflict, which is something Nicholas Sparks wanted to create anyway for his story.
he would date the sailor or the whatever the bad boy was in their town. Let's not. I get really tired of women of the past acting like they were that different. It was the same thing. I mean, there's that woman that goes around on these different college campuses saying that she used to be a whore. I forgot her name, but the one with the gray hair, and she's like, I was a hoe in college. I mean, she's saying that same stuff was going on in the 70s that it was today. I mean,
Well, and not to, give an anecdotal, my sister was told stories from my grandmother, great grandmother, and mom, which I never heard. I grew up with, oh, well, my great great granddad was a bad guy. Now that her second husband was a bad guy, Ben, he was a bad guy. And my grandmother's first husband was a bad guy. And then my mom ran off with my dad and had 3 kids, and he was a bad guy. And they had this, the men are the bad guys, but none of them were saying, you know what, you had a play in this, unless it was rape or molestation. You had a play in it. You chose. But instead, they all group hug and go, oh, you poor dear, those dirty, dirty boys and their dirty, dirty things. That's, again, part of the sisterhood that you seem to play into this. And it's really interesting. And she's kind of mentioning that here. And I'm going to say anecdotally, yeah, my sister heard stories and has told me stories that things were not as I thought they were.
right? But the thing is, again, even older women, they use this plausible deniability. It
Yes.
wasn't like that when I was young. Whatever, ladies. Anyway, so the difference was social media exacerbated it, right? So social media, before the women could date the guy and, she'd kind of forget because she'd never see him again. But now our exes are at the click of a button. It takes 2 seconds to check in. So that makes this problem worse. Yeah, so now she's
pondering her life.
thinking, I miss him so much. Well, what do I do? And you gotta think from the woman's point of view. She's got love, she's got money. What does she pick?
A little spoiler later on, and she doesn't show this, but I saw it in the movie. When the mother who's encouraging her to marry this guy. His name was Lon. That's the character's name was Lon. Um, to marry Lon instead of Noah, who was the love interest. She tells the girl Rachel that, well, let me go show you something, and she goes off where this guy is working his work a day. He's shoveling coal or shoveling rock or something, and she talks about how he and I, the mom says, we're in a very torrid relationship, but I chose your father. In other words, her father was the fallback guy. Now, but she says that what a wonderful life I think I would have had. Now, that's the grass is greener presumption. You almost think that had she chose the love interest, and then she would have gone, oh, see the guy in the big car on the big hill? Oh, what a wonderful life I would have had. Pearl will often say it's choices and trade-offs for everybody, for men and for women. It's choices and trade-offs. What you grab with one hand, you let go with the other. And so here are these women going back and forth. Oh, this guy, he's got this house, and it's part of their dream house that they had discussed. And it's just, now she's got this big problem.
Next, I forgot to put a clip of this. I forgot the actual clip. Essentially, I'm going to skip it, but she goes back and cheats on her husband. Have you noticed how all of the female fantasy movies are women cheating? Titanic, she's cheating. I mean, 50 Shades of Grey, I guess she's not cheating, but it's the same female fantasy, this hot guy with an emotional side that's just, doing all the BDSM, I mean, that book was one of the most popular books ever amongst women. And this is one of the most popular movies ever amongst women. So it shows you the female struggle, which is I need security for the rest of my life. I need security for children. And but I'm more attracted to these other type of guys.
And the sisterhood doesn't help. I mean, they are really looking at this from a resource and status over romance, because sometimes you can't have both. You can have you can have the status, you can have the money. We even see that today from what's reported on the internet with these women that they want the 3 6s, but that's actually they're not as attracted to those men so much as they're attracted to the money and the status. It's the same argument, it's the same choice, and it hasn't changed. And female nature responding to this also creates this problem just has perpetuated. It's really nothing new under the sun. I do like what Noah says later on when there's a conflict right before she goes back to see the fiance, and spoilers, breaks up with him. Shocking. He goes, "What do you want?" And actually, as a guy, I thought that was a poignant part of the movie. When you look at a woman and say, "What do you want?" Oh, because she doesn't want to make a decision because she'll have to own it. If I choose the nice guy with the money, and I will be responsible. She kind of leans into, well, my parents are making me, and the culture wants me to, and all my friends. And I think that Noah actually, if I want to talk about one of the strongest things that we in masculine nature can do, look at a woman, say, what do you want? You're going to have to make a choice here. What do you want? And she doesn't know. She wants someone else to make the decision. So when, not if, when it goes kaplooey, and either side does. Either you get bored, you've got all the money in the big house and you're bored out of your mind, or he's so work a day and he's not going anywhere and we don't have enough stuff. You're not going to take responsibility for your choice. And that's a problem Rachel's got. And later on, I thought that was very uh, intuitive, adroit of the author to put that in.
So they hook up, right? And this is the fight they have because she's trying to decide whether to go back to her husband or her fiance or stay with the ex-boyfriend.
I see you got my letters. Finally.
And they just talk. I'm going to push past this a little bit because I do have my addendum that I wanted to put in. So they have this, and he does say, and this is the scene that I don't know if she covers it, where he goes, "What do you want?"
Something missing.
Now
There we go.
remember, women love this fight scene, right? This is viral on TikTok, Twitter. Women, this is one of the most viral parts of the movie.
That's because for some reason the sisterhood has got women. Women want to be fought for. For some reason, we have this Galahad, we have this Guinevere thing, we have this sense of men should fight for women. If you're in a bar and you see a girl you want, she's with another guy, you should fight for her. There's another bus every 10 minutes, guys. If she doesn't want you or she with somebody else, do a hard pass. But it's exciting when women think to be fought over, and that's why this is important because sometimes you'll hear women say, "You're not fighting for us. I shouldn't have to fight for us. I should have to fight against the world that's trying to destroy us. I should be fighting side by side with you instead of fighting with you." And that's where I think that the sisterhood is not doing women a service. They should be by our side helping us fight the world that wants to destroy us instead of us fighting over, "I don't think you love me, or do you love me? I've got to prove my love to you." I put a ring on your finger, But and I want to fight the world for you every day.
We love this. Why? Because it speaks to female psychology, right?
Yes.
He's saying you're bored. It's money. And deep down, a lot of women know they're with their husbands for security. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, right? I mean, you got to think of kids. Not every woman can be with a husband that she loves, There's just not enough of them to go around, sadly, right? So I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm saying this is the female struggle, right? Do you pick a more chaotic guy that you love more, or do you pick the safer guy? That's what women are struggling with. That's what we see should women go for security or excitement?
Arrogant son of a bitch.
And a lot of women dream about going for excitement, but they can't because we live in the real world. And I'm sorry, Diane, your drug dealer boyfriend just is not gonna, I know you love him, but it's just not gonna work. It's just, you know what I mean? When this plays out in real life, it's like,
it's never worked.
No, like Brianna Chicken Fry. No, Brianna, it's not going to work long term with a celebrity, right? That's never going to work. You'd be a lot better to go work for your guy next door. And then she says, no, I want the celebrity, please, God. I can't have that's the female struggle.
See if I can move past this. I'm getting to where I'm wanting to talk about my little addendum.
What she really wants. But it's what, I mean, most women are not going to get both.
And that's where I want to stop and talk about my addendum here, where I'm kind of leaning in. And I will let her finish out this segment. She goes into another segment talking about the 4B movement, and then she's talking to Terrence Pomp. Very interesting. But I wanted to go into my addendum, what I wanted to add to this conversation, is that what can we men learn? I took some notes. I watched this thinking, okay, what can I learn from Noah? Noah is actually, I said he was a cartoon, but he's also created and structured a certain way to be her fantasy man. He's not rough and gruff, although he's from the other side of the track. You don't see him doing alcohol. You don't see him being coarse and mean. In fact, you don't see him raising his hand, and very rarely raises his voice unless it's in that playfulness that they were going back and forth. I'm sure that at 17 they weren't arguing about anything stupid important. So what can we learn as men? When we learn about female nature, like I said earlier, when they want, let me see if I can wrote it down here, touch, laugh, play, and they don't want to be bored. And this is something, instead of us wanting women to accept us as we are, how can we be Noah? And I'm going to lean into a Titanic. How can you be Jack? I wrote down that Lon was the beta, the other guy in Notebook. In Titanic, it was Billy Zane's character, so I'm just going to call him Billy. You can be Lon or Billy. the guy that has the status and the guy that's the guy that you should be with because he's got all this stuff. Here, Lon, you saw in that clip, was talking her into marriage. When you are Noah, when you are Jack, you don't have to talk them into marriage. They see the value of who you are, and they will respond accordingly. So, men, instead of trying to change women to accept us as Billy and as Lon. Look at what I'm bringing to the table. Oh, look how nice I am. Look how smart I am. Look at where I'm going. Look at what I've got and what I'm going to have. Ooh, status and stuff. And I want a big family and all this kind of stuff. How can you be Jack? How can you be Noah? What can you learn? In the scene you didn't see, Noah does some very good things. I wrote down a list of things that I saw Noah do that we men can learn from it. And I'll try to keep this only within a few minutes. I don't want this thing to go on forever. I have respect for Pearl and her thoughts and things. But what can we learn? Number one, this guy, Noah, seemed to have more of a devil-may-care. He had his own style. He had a hat. He was walking with his friend, and he saw Rachel. And he didn't just run up and start talking. He noticed he was understood the social dynamic of what was going on. They were at a fair, and he saw her laughing and giggling. And one thing I'm going to say, he had this more devil-may-care. He wasn't afraid to walk up to her, even though she was with another guy, and she shined him off. And the other guy and her get on this Ferris wheel, and he's watching her, and she sees him watching her. Then he runs over and gets on the Ferris wheel with them and talks her into going on a date. Later on, they meet, but you don't know how long it was. It might have been a week, 2 weeks, it could have been 3 or 4 days. He sees her and goes back and again shoots a shot. She gets in, gives in, and they have this wonderful relationship. But here's what I'm going to say. Number one, have a little bit more devil-may-care. But don't jump out of, the barrel. Don't jump out at them. He read the room. He kind of looked for chemistry. There's that sense, and we men know it, those of us that kind of stop and watch women, you can sense a bit of chemistry with a girl. You just watching her and how she moves. You'll yes and no, and I think, and you're watching her. Sometimes women will send a little back if they notice that chemistry. They see you before you approach them. You don't want to spook women. He makes an impression right off the bat. He's not afraid to say who he is. He's not afraid later on to declare his intent. He has his own style. He had some swag, the way he moved very casually. He didn't come running at her, and he didn't sheepishly pull away. She said no, and he just backed up. He looked for chemistry. This is something that we men are terrible at. You've got to look for chemistry with a woman. Even across a room, you can it's subtle. It's something that is there and is not there. Trust your manly instincts on it. And if you're wrong, learn. That's one thing I didn't do in college. I wish I'd have walked up to a beautiful girl every week. Just learn to talk to them. Stop putting them on a pedestal. Make them real. But the last one I want to go to, and I'm going to lean in a little bit more, 2 more things, is I said devil-may-care, make an impression, have a style, a swag, look for chemistry. Number 5 is make everything fun. I talked to my son today. My struggle as a younger man was I didn't know how to be fun. I thought you had to do fun. You have to go to the mall, or you have to go to a movie, you have to go to a carnival. No, Noah created fun with a bicycle. She's riding the bicycle and she's on front. Noah created fun with an ice cream cone. Noah was somebody she was excited to go run and jump up on because he is just fun. Now, I know we men get married and we stop being fun, and that's our problem. The fact that we need to go back to being fun. I did a video, one of my response videos I did with Better Bachelor, and I leaned into pornography tries to sell men on the girlfriend relationship, the girlfriend experience. That's what these women in porn are. They are free girlfriend experience. They come in and do whatever you want. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to try for it. You don't have to, respond to her a week or 2 later or shoot your shot. Everything's free. Women want the boyfriend experience. This is something that we men, we lack. When we become husband, which is provider, protector, all this stuff, we're mechanic and we're taking care of the house, we stop being boyfriend. We stop being that attentive, smiling, fun. We stop being fun. We're fun when we're dating. We are. But we stop because we take life too serious. So that's where I'm going to say here as I'm ending this is fun. Just try to be fun. Make your life fun. Be a fun person. Very, very last thing I'll do, and then I'm going to let her finish out, and then I'll stop her before she goes into another segment. There's an important thing that women like. It's called skin to skin. I'm not talking sexually. I'm even just talking. I saw a guy talk about this, how that if he's going into a building, even going into Walmart, he'll take his wife and touch the back of her, touch her side and kind of guide her into the door. If he's turning to go down aisle 3, he'll grab her, wrist and kind of guide her. He touches her, like if he's going to talk to her, he'll go up and grab her chin and say, "Excuse me, I wanted to ask you something," and she'd go, "What?" All this playfulness, just touching skin on skin. Try to do it at least once a day, guys. It's very important. Women respond. That's something that kind of grows. That's something that I'll bet Noah did, and even Jack, is you give them a little bit of skin to skin, not much, and it's always in the safe area of the arm and hands. Later on, maybe you can touch the side. Maybe on you can touch the face or the hair. You don't go for any of the other parts. They'll be offered later. You want women to get craving your skin to skin. Work on that. But I'm going to back up now. I've kind of said what I wanted to say to the guys. Watch this movie. Take notes about Noah. Noah is a cartoon, but he's a good cartoon. Learn from him. Women, and these movies are training these women to look for Noahs. Titanic trains women to start looking for Jack. So don't be Lon, don't be Billy thinking you'll just be accepted. You have to work hard and you got to pay up front if you want to be Noah and you want to be Jack. So think about that. And I'm going to let Pearl finish out here a little bit.
Most women's both doesn't even exist, to be fair. I mean, we've been, we're shown these. I would actually put these two at equal attractiveness levels, but the uglier the woman and the more attractive the man, the more viral the movie's going to go for women. So, I mean, would you guys agree in the chat? I would say these two are equally attractive or close.
Um, again, I thought I was going to let her finish it here. They do have this sense of, I liked, I think it was Rachel McAdams, whatever her name was, who played Rachel. I might have got the actress wrong. I don't think she was that plain, but I thought she was, I didn't think she was that average. She was pretty, but if you make the guy, or if you put the guy in a situation where he's just a little bit above her, it's an identification for women who, think that they're average. Now, I've been average, but this above average, cool guy, this fun guy wants to spend time with me. That's part of the attraction also. I love women. I don't think they're average. I think they're beautiful. But in their own mind, many of them see themselves as average. And when you see this above average or this fun guy and he wants to spend time with her, that's very attractive for women.
Are we agreeing?
An easy way. There is no easy way. No matter what I do, somebody gets hurt.
Would you stop thinking about what everyone wants? Stop thinking about what I want, what he wants, what your parents want. What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want? Damn it, what do you want?